Hey guys and gals, welcome to part 2 of our interview with Mariannita Luzzati. If you haven't done so already, make sure to go back and listen to part 1. You don't want to miss out. Just a reminder that we now have a Facebook group, and you can join in on episode discussion, win prizes, and I don't know, there's a pretty hot topic right now if you're on Team Hayden or Team Norm. Obviously I'm biased, but Team Hayden is the way to go. But you didn't hear from me. Anyway, that's enough of me, and now for the rest of the episode.
Anyways, let's talk about something a bit more happy. And
let's talk. Yes.
I want to know about where you are right now, what you're doing, and then what's next for you.
This year, I started the year with an exhibition in London. It was in February. So it was a very happy starting year because I had this exhibition. Then in March, I had to come back to Brazil because I had another exhibition in Brasilia, which I opened. The theme of this exhibition in Brasilia was nature. So I was working in some paintings that were related to migration in nature. So I did a study of plants that had migrated through man or naturally and invaded the landscapes. So the whole exhibition was about that. And I was very happy working for this and working for another exhibition that I was supposed to have in September, but it was postponed for next year in a museum here in São Paulo. And so it was, for me, it was a very busy year. And because of the COVID thing, I came to the mountains where I stayed most of the time. And because I was completely into nature, it was very interesting because I did long walks and I had the opportunity to see the changing of the seasons and things that I don't noticed in a normal year. But it was very interesting this year for me. And I was working and developing my work in different ways because of this more closely contact with nature. And I believe now where I am, I'm open many new paths for my work because of the experiences I had this year. And I think I want to live a more calmer life. So I don't want to travel so much. I don't want to be in so many places like I used to be. I want to spend more time with myself and in places where I don't want to do when lives come back to normal. I don't want to live like a crazy life, going from one place to another and having to do many things all at the same time as I used to do. So I want more quality time and have a more quality lifetime for me. This is the point I am today, evaluating the way I want to live from now on.
And I guess COVID's given you a little bit of time to think.
Yes, time was very important during COVID. I think everyone gained time. And I think spending time with ourselves is something that we don't used to do in a normal life because we never have time. So when you have this time and you start to think and you start to enjoy little things or having more time to think about things, it's very important. And I think time is something that I want to have until the rest of my life. I want to have this time that I gain now.
So let's switch gears a little bit. And what failures, and I hate using that word, that's why I say hurdles or obstacles, did you have to overcome to become a success?
I think the biggest obstacle that I have to overcome is being a woman. It's very hard into the arts. So because you are not evaluated as a male artist, so it's very hard to prove yourself at the beginning. And the place of the woman into the art is still very difficult today, because we don't, for example, if a dealer has to go to an art fair, he would prefer to bring male artists than women artists. This is a fact. They would say this. And for the art market, male artists, the collectors prefer to buy male artists than women artists. So it's a difficult position, and it's something that on the beginning was very hard to prove yourself being a woman. But still today, it's a difficult position, because you are not, for example, during this COVID period, all the galleries are very worried about the male artists, but not so many worried about the women artists, because they don't believe women need financial support as much as the male ones. So you have to fight all the time with these issues.
Now, is that more in Brazil or do you find that globally?
No, it's globally. It's globally.
Really?
I am part of a group in London that just discuss these issues. It's interesting because, it's not open. People don't want to talk about this now because they say, oh, this is something from the past, but it's not. It's today.
You know what? You're opening up my eyes to so many things on this podcast.
Really?
You are. We've talked about a few things. I just went, wow, I had no idea. I would have thought that it would have been more equal, but you know what? Until you step in the shoes of someone, you never really know.
It's true. It's true. It's not equal because a woman dealer would say the same. She for her, I was speaking with a dealer in London some months ago, and she was telling me, it's very difficult for me to go to an art fair because I spend a lot of money into the fair, and if I bring many women to the show, I won't sell them. I have to have male artists.
Outside of doing this, my job is I work a lot with Amazon sellers. So people that are, well, hey, look at, and no pun intended, being in Brazil. But
Yeah.
anyways, I work with people that are trying to get onto Amazon and sell. So I go to a lot of these conferences, and it's very interesting. I will have an incredible businesswoman with me, and they might be with their husband. But yet, when somebody comes up, they'll start talking to the husband about their e-com account, even though it shocked me when I saw it, because I didn't really consider it when my friends were telling me this. And it's like I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, they're absolutely right.
I know. On the Cinemusica project, I remember when we started to do it, and we gave many interviews together, but people would speak just with Marcelo, never with me. They would never ask me anything, like if I was not part of it. It's funny.
It really is, and it's too bad it's still happening like that. But and that's why, like, at least on the Amazon side, a group has started called Empowery. They started a group of Amazon sellers. The event was strictly for women sellers. So this was the first time last year. It was Empowering Women's Conference, it was called, and it was all women, and they were all amazing entrepreneurs. And guess what? So I went. I wanted to go because they were all amazing entrepreneurs. And there was
Yes.
about a handful of 10 males in this group of 500. And it was interesting why people would be asking me, why are you going? I'm sitting there going,
Really?
you guys realize that there's all these incredible people speaking, and you're going to miss out on it? You don't have to be a woman to go and listen to 10 great speakers. And now they've had a couple more like that, but then, with COVID, that stopped. I think women, and at least the Amazon business, have got to have a bit bigger voice. And that's the problem. I think it's, people, and maybe in your profession as well.
Another angle of that I've noticed be like the systemization of that, even more so coming from universities and colleges, and relating it back to what Mariannita said about having time to think about these issues. There was a group that was started mainly focused around musicians in Montreal and Toronto, but it spread across the US too. And they put together this group of people. It's called This is Art School. And is mainly aimed for women and people of color who have faced any sort of discrimination or had any issues in university or as professionals to come forward and talk about it in this group. It kind of went viral across North America. They managed to have enough people come forward that they started putting together committees to actually go to the universities and ask them to do evaluations of how they're handling issues like this, and even addressing some of the maybe some of the teachers who were abusing these people, or not being fair or equitable in how they were treating the student body.
And maybe just not knowing too is bringing knowledge and education to people that, it might be considered the norm,
right?
But until people are educated.
Yeah, and it's also, the way that things have been done over the last 100 years or even longer.
Are you going to say like your lifetime, Dad?
Yeah. Or the whole colonial thing.
I don't go back that far.
Just actually trying to open up these issues and talk freely about them rather than having them just in the system. And maybe you'll have one Twitter comment about it once in a while, but that kind of gets pushed aside. But actually opening things up and facing these issues now.
I'm not sure if you'd be interested, but there's a lady that was on our podcast about 2 months ago, Andrea Lake. Incredible, really incredible entrepreneur. I think she had 14 businesses on the go, and she's just an incredibly nice person as well. But she's got this group she's put together for women called Power Chick Mafia. There's 2 versions of it. There's one where anybody can join, and then they have one where there's a group that meets. I'm not sure if it's every quarter, but it's for women entrepreneurs that have over 10 million in sales. But it's an incredible group because it brings people together and talk about this sort of stuff.
Very interesting, because this group that I'm part in England, it's because they bring issues that you don't even think about because you are just used the way the things are. But when they bring you these issues, it's amazing. You discover that old things still today. It's amazing, really. I think it's very important to open discussion and to have these groups talking about.
Yes, I agree as well. Now, let's switch it, just do a 180-degree turn.
Yes.
What has been your most successful event or something successful in your life?
The most successful thing in my life, I had a dream to go to India. And so I did this 5 years ago. And for me, it was really a really wonderful experience to experiment that civilization. And I was so impressed with India because I think they have this quality time we were talking about. They are very attached to nature. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful people that have wonderful character, and I was mesmerized about India, and I think this is one of the most brilliant experiences I had in life. I don't evaluate success as career things, because for example, I don't think I did that exhibition and it was a huge success, it was very important. I don't really care about these things. For me, success is about experience. So this experience of India, that was my dream to go, and it was amazing experience, and experiences that I have in my studio, creating my works. And so this experience of doing something new and achieving something that I didn't know before, and I achieved at that moment through my work. And success for me is this kind of experience. And I don't have this at that moment, for me, that was a big success. I think something that happens with discoveries, I evaluate success in this way.
Very interesting. Hayden used to teach in India.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
It was in New Delhi at the Global Music Institute. That was actually 6 years ago.
You lived there?
Yeah. Funny story. It was supposed to be a 3-month semester at this school, but I ended up getting really sick and had to leave about 2 months in that I left. But my time there was amazing, and I agree.
It is an amazing place, no?
Yeah, yeah. And even just walking down the street in New Delhi, just, you know, the strength of like the culture. I mean,
exactly.
And how different it is compared to North American culture. But the sights, the smells, like everything.
It's everything. Yeah. But so you got very sick. We know a musician that went to India and got very sick as well.
Yeah, I think it's a common thing.
Yes.
But where were you in India?
I was in New Delhi, and then I was in Nagore. I went to a festival, Sufi music festival. It was so interesting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's with the dancers, right? Like there's dance and music? Or maybe
no,
it
was just music. And they used to have this festival, it was 1 week festival with concerts from morning to night, and each concert would have the duration of 5 hours, and
right. Wow.
people would sit outside or lie on the floor and just listen to this music, that you would go and come, and it was amazing experience, really amazing.
Actually, one thing I wanted to share, I don't know if our listeners will get any value from this, but one observation I made when I was there, I went to a North Indian classical concert. And it was, I've always wanted to see something like this live. And the really cool thing was that if you looked around the audience, everyone was keeping track of the song with their hands.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So throughout the concert, there's this, it would be an hour-long concert, or even some songs would be 10 minutes or so, and everyone's keeping the beat with their hands.
It's true.
Before the end of the song, like I was totally clueless, but before the end of the song, people would start clapping because they knew the ending was coming.
I know, but I was so amazed about that as well, because they had this movement with the hands, listen to the music and with the heads, and they were inside of the music, all the time. completely different audience. I loved being part of that on that festival.
Mm-hmm. And even to contrast that with, North American classical music, where you normally sit very still until the very, very end, and then you clap at the specific time.
Yes.
But it was very interesting to see everyone so involved in the
music. Me too. I had the same experience.
That's interesting, and that's why I love traveling and seeing different cultures. Just we almost started talking about that at the beginning, where you become one with the music. Well, it sounds like I've never experienced it, but it sounds very interesting when people kind of get into the music like that and they become part of the music. Well, I think we are coming close to the end of the podcast, and I've had an incredible time speaking with you. I've learned a lot. Like I said, I've learned a bunch. You've got me thinking about a bunch of other things. I really want to thank you for coming on to the podcast today.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting. Norman, are you a musician as well?
You know what? I am not. I wish I was. I wish I was an artist. Those are two things that I just haven't done. A matter of fact, I told Marcelo this story. You want to hear? Hayden knows what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So I go and I get this tenor saxophone. I go to my parents' place, which is like a cottage country up in the mountains, beautiful, nobody around, big lake. And I start playing the saxophone. And all of a sudden, after about 5 minutes, I just hear this across the lake, "Shut up, shut up." So I think I sounded more like, a moose rather than a sax player. And so that was about the end of my music career. I did play in the band a trumpet when I was going to school, but that's about as far as it got.
But at least you had the experience.
Oh yeah. And I love music. I'm into I don't know a type of music, like right from very abstract avant-garde style music right into classical opera, you name the genre, and it's on my Apple Music. I just love everything. So yeah, I'm very wide open. And when I do find a music or an art, and let's say I find a new genre, it just like another door flings wide open, and it's hard to describe. It just feels incredible. You just can't get enough of it. Like, reggae or ska. Wow. And then you start to explore. This is funny. Last night, I watched a Netflix movie called Fisherman's Friends. And it's about shanty music. And so last night, what did I do? I went and I downloaded about 10 albums. And just before this call, I was playing it. I couldn't get enough of this shanty music.
I gotta send you some Milton Nascimento. I think you'd like Milton.
What type of music is that?
It's called MPB, Brazilian pop music.
Oh, okay.
It's like kind of like classic rock, but with traditional Brazilian rhythms kind of underneath it, and it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
I got to check that out.
Yeah, Milton Nascimento. Marcelo did something with Milton Nascimento as well.
What? Really?
Yes, he has a recording. I will ask him to send you.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
He did one music in a concert with Milton Nascimento.
Wow. That's incredible.
That just reminds me of something too. You were talking about the Cinemusica. Is there a video or anything that any of our listeners can watch?
Yes.
There is?
Yes, there is. I did a documentary about the whole project into the prisons. So I have this documentary. I can send you the link.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, we can share that.
And I have it in English as well.
And also, I'd like to show our viewers your incredible art. If you can send us over a link to where our viewers can
of course,
check that out as well. Okay. Well, at the end of every episode, we always have one question we ask our guest, and that is, do they know a guy?
I know a wonderful writer, Ian Thompson, an English writer that is very, very interesting, and I think you would love to have him as a guest.
Very good. Well, I can't wait to talk to Ian. So once again, I really want to thank you for coming onto the podcast and sharing your life experience with us.
Thank you so much, Norman.
Oh, you're very welcome.
That concludes our interview with Mariannita Luzzati. Tune in next week for our interview with Dave McKean and Pemba Sherpa of Sherpa Chai and Sherpa's Adventure Restaurant in Boulder, Colorado. We dig into a lot of the charity work that Pemba's involved in and how he went from being a mountain guide in Nepal to a successful business owner in Boulder, Colorado. We also touch on what it's like to be a restaurant owner during the times of COVID. Anyway, that's enough of me, and I'll see you next time.